there, Year 8. Welcome back to Science. Today what we're going to be doing, in the middle of our Miracle of Life topic, we're going to be having a look at reproductive processes. We're going to be looking at reproductive processes to do with plants. There's two ways that plants can do that. One, they can copy themselves, they can clone themselves. Plants like grasses asexually reproduce, which is clone themselves, asexually reproduce. They send runners out, and then at the end of some of the runners, they put down another grass, and then another grass, and then another grass. If you cut in between those runners, those little grass plants will continue to grow. So they are clones, perfect clones of the parent plant. That's okay for grasses. They can be clones. That's fine. There's no diversity that's necessary. But God loves diversity. We love to see differences of things around us, in plants especially. So the only way that can occur, diversity, and genetic diversity especially, is sexual reproduction, where you have a male and a female. So how do plants go about that? Well, they have certain plants called angiosperms, which are flowering plants. They're the ones that sexually reproduce. So any flower that you might see around you, the flower is the sexual reproductive organ of a plant. How does it do that? Well, you probably already know birds and bees transfer pollen. That's fine, but let's go a little bit deeper in the science. Today you're going to dissect a flower to work out the parts of the plant and why each part of the plant is necessary for the reproductive process, for sexual reproduction in a plant, in angiosperms. So I'm sitting in front of a clivia, and these clivias at the moment have lots of flowers on them, and I want you to do a dissection yourself of flowers. So here's a flower. Yeah. So what I've done is I've taken this flower, and I'd like you to find a flower in your area that you're allowed to use, hopefully in your backyard, and I want you to take it inside, take a selfie with it, like that, take a selfie, take a photo, upload that to the due work area in today's lesson, and then I want you to dissect this plant, and all you have to do is cut down the middle, figure out the certain parts of the plant, and then after you've dissected it out, you're going to then take another photo of that, put it on your computer, label it with all the parts you might see above me now, and then you're going to post that as well. So two photos you're going to post. One, a selfie with your lovely flower. Just make sure, no one else will see this, only me. I just want to see your face and the flower. And then after it's dissected, and for you to put on all the labels. So what are the parts of the plant that are required for sexual reproduction, for genetic diversity to occur in flowering plants that are around us? Well, the male parts of the plant. If you look up here, you'll see that the male parts of the plant are on this right hand side. Now, the whole thing is called a stamen. Stamen. You have an anther at the top. The anther, like anthers, antlers, all right? So the anther has all the pollen. That's where the pollen is. And then it is attached to a really long fibre called a filament, which raises it up nice and high so that it can brush past any birds or bees that might be wanting to get to the nectar. And the nectar obviously is at the bottom here, and it's not labelled there, but there is nectar right at the bottom of that anther, right at the bottom of that filament. So they're the two parts of the male part of the plant. You have the pollen, which is on the anther, and the filament, which holds it nice and high, and they're both called the stamen. Then we've got the female part of the plant, and there's usually only possibly one or a couple of these female parts of the plant, and that is all together called a pistil, P-I-S-T-I-L. It's like, an old gun, pistol, bang, bang. So these pistils made of three parts called a stigma, which is right at the top, a style, which is a long, thin tube that holds the stigma nice and high, and then at the bottom there's an ovary, and that's where the ovule is, / where the eggs are that need the pollen so that it can form a new plant that is genetically diverse. You also will have, definitely one of the most important things for us is the petals around it. Now that doesn't hold much weight when we're talking about sexual reproduction, because petals are only there in order to display the flower to birds and bees in order for pollination, cross-pollination to occur. All right, so that pollen is, these petals are only there for that reason, all right, so that birds and bees and other small insects can actually sit on those petals in order to get the nectar and therefore have all that pollen put all over themselves and then fly away as well. All right, so let's go through very quickly. Let's go through a dissection that I did of this little clivia flower. So I'm taking off the petals at the moment. And some of these are sepals as well, which is actually just the encasing, the case, the little case around the actual flower before it actually opens up. Sepals and petals for these clivias are look about the same, so we won't worry too much about that. Then you see a number of pollen grains, which are those red, yellow things, and that's the anther. And then what I'm pointing at now is the one that doesn't have that red, yellow thing at the top, and that is the female part of the plant. And you can see as I work down and kind of bring it forward, that doesn't have anything at the top, so we know, and it's actually got three little additions to the top as well. So that's the stigma at the top, style, that long tube as well. And then if we go all the way to the bottom where my finger is, that's where the ovule and the ovary is. So now dissection, what I'd like you to do, get rid of all the petals. And then in your dissection, also take off the male parts of the plant and just put them to one side. You can probably hear my dog chewing behind me as well. So you can see the pollen coming off, which is the male gamete. It's like male sperm, but it's pollen grains. All right, so male part of the plant. Now the pollen is all over that yellow pollen. There's so much pollen per anther. So now I've dissected off the male parts of the plant, and if you look now, I'm just taking off as much as I can. You can tell there's so much pollen on each filament, on each anther. Now I'm going to bring in the female part of the plant. So you've got the stigma at the top, style, which is that long section here. Now what I want you to do with a fairly blunt knife, it's fine, just cut through the middle of your ovary, which is the one at the bottom, and you'll hopefully open it up and see all the eggs, all the ovules that are inside it. This is the most important one. Now, if you have if you want to do a close-up, like look with your camera, do a close-up, you should be able to see lots and lots of these eggs, all right? So you will be able to, hopefully now, I'm going to try and take a few out, and you should be able to extract some eggs. All right, I'm going to stop there. So, at this point in time, what I'd like you to do, if you can, go out and find a flower, any flower, big or small, see if you can cut it up just like you saw me do, and then take a photo first. So if we upload that and then dissect it out, take that photo, put it onto your computer, onto PowerPoint or onto Word, label each of the parts. So I would label here, that's the anther with the pollen grains, that's the filament, up here's the stigma, that's the style, down the bottom is the ovary and the ovules there. All of that is the pistil, 1, 2, and 3, and all of this on the left-hand side, that's the stamen as well. And then you could probably put a petal in there on the side too. And then you're going to take a screenshot of that was on the labeled image, the labeled image on your screen. Then you're going to upload that as well. So 2 photos, 1 a selfie just with the flower, and 2 after you've dissected it out, labeled all the parts that you've seen with a dissection, and then upload a screenshot of that too. All right. Now, if you don't have a flower, and you can't find one, then there is an alternative, not as fun, because I'd really like you to do some real science today. If you don't have a flower, perfectly fine, not a problem. There's an Education Perfect task that I'd like you to do, and in that Education Perfect task, there's one area that you can label a diagram of the flower that you see in Education Perfect. So just label it there, and then upload a screenshot of your label diagram in Education Perfect. Definitely not as fun. I'd love you to find some really diverse, interesting flowers. There's some phenomenal flowers out there that have so many beautiful looking stigmas and styles and stamens. So go look at the sexual reproductive organs of a plant and just have a look at the biology that you see around you. All right, Love to see them after you post them. Good luck.